Welcome back for more Mapmaker talk here with Render and Calamity Canyon. Last time,
Great.
or I guess last
Mhm.
recording session, we went through the first couple of dungeons. So this is a fresh recording session. We're going to go into dungeon number 3, which is Arid Heights. And before we get into it, I'm going to turn on night vision just so I can kind of like see a bit better outside and then also inside as it gets into some dark places. There are a number of ways that you could enter this dungeon.
hmm One of the first entrances is, of course, this kind of obvious light queue right over here, and there's
Hmm,
this pillar kind of blocking it. So it's like, hey, what's that light over there? And also the core on top will also draw people in.
right. And
It's
indeed, this
just
is the way that I first discovered this dungeon. And through
because the
here, yeah, there's like a little bit of a room with like a zombie spawner. I don't think I ever found this chest. It had blocks and ladders. That's
and
nice.
ladders, your favorites.
I know. I managed to
hmm
avoid like all the chests of the things that I really wanted.
Yep. I remember you saying to me on Discord, like, "Hey, guy, get more ladders in here." And I was like, "Well, there are ladder chests, but you're missing them."
But the actual ender chest and named portion of the area is Arid Heights, right over here. You could also find it via the train that's right out here. And just to remind people, I guess, oh, right, there was the house over here and the train is up here.
Yeah, this is the original way in where you would go up here and then follow the ledge around to right over here. Oh, sorry.
I see you
I need
now.
to be
Okay.
more describable. Yeah, when you're at the oasis, you
Hmm.
go up this ledge made
Right.
of the walking block. I like to make the ground have a specific block, which is this area. It's the light gray concrete powder.
Right.
And that's basically the walking block where most of the time the player will be walking on until you, of course, get to the actual plateau canyon walls.
I see. And yeah, I think the first time I ever went up there is when I spotted those uh, blocky overhangs that lead to Dungeon 4. But I guess I'd already come over to this area before anyway, so I was kind of over
hmm
here.
More lighting cues to get the player in right at the start.
Right. Harder to see the lighting cues. Okay, and so I'm going to clear my night vision really quick. And so I guess these little lighted poles have been added since the version of the dungeon that I played because I completely missed this ladder originally and started going this way and other different directions.
Yes, this is one of those things that I just straight up missed. It should have been kind of obvious to me that people would be like, "Oh yeah, you could just, walk right down this kind of path," even though the actual path is like around the corner going up.
So yeah, that's a
So
nice little addition. I like it.
I made that more obvious with the tiki torch kind of plateau.
Um, yeah, and so yeah, before kind of like walking through this dungeon, just kind of like the big picture, I guess there's two main land masses that you have these various paths that are kind of going in between and circling around and through, and sometimes they make loops and sometimes they dead end at little treasure things or mob spawners or whatnot. And I really enjoyed this dungeon just in terms of like the three-dimensional layout, but I'm just curious, like, how you made it and if you had particular design considerations and things that you were doing with it, or what you can say about the big picture.
This is actually a kind of a rendition of a dungeon I made earlier. It was originally for a strawberry jam, and I never released the thing, so I might use the dungeon for something.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a also in a desert canyon, but it was a more yellow one. And with this one, the original idea, I had just these big mountains lying around there because with World Painter, I just randomly chose to make big plateaus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the idea to just use this same idea again. And then I just put, I basically just marked where I would have cave entrances, like
Mm-hmm.
right here. And then I would just think of like, oh, how could I logically connect this up to make it kind of a linear play through all the caves.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just add all the plateaus with these are basically MC edits, like really flat brushes that you just went around with.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it worked well.
But
I
you,
thought that this dungeon was fun. The
Mhm.
one, again, I'm not sure if it's necessarily a criticism, but just like Dungeon 2, which had lava that made it very easy to inventory wipe, this dungeon, just the fall damage made it very easy to inventory wipe. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think I've seen at least a couple people inventory wipe in this dungeon so far. Um, yeah, but
Yeah,
again, on the early end of the map, like you still don't have. This is the first place that you really start accumulating resources, I feel like.
yeah. This was like the gold was meant to be like a
If you found the gold
uh,
early in the map.
yeah. If you found the gold, it wasn't that obvious originally. That's actually a funny part. This tunnel wasn't here. Sorry,
Sorry, which one?
go
Okay.
down.
Where'd you go?
Near the train. Near the train.
Okay.
Yes, and then I'm right. Yeah, I need to have fireworks on me. I'm standing on top of the
Okay.
train.
All right. Got it.
Okay. And then okay, still following me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. And then this cave wasn't here.
Right.
So this part, which has the anvil and the gold ore cave,
Right.
was actually secluded from the rest of the dungeon. So you basically had to figure out like, oh hey, this place is still dark. Wait, why haven't I been there yet?
Got it. And
It
so,
was like
was
there
this
wasn't
cave
in
in
that.
my version of the map? Do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was in the I think the jam version and one version afterwards,
I see.
which I quickly patched out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure if it's just because you come up the ladder and like it's the wood slabs that bring you over here, and so I just immediately went over here and somehow didn't notice this even with the train over here. I'm curious if I clear out my night vision. Man, it's so dark. I feel like it's even darker than normal for some reason, but maybe it's just because the area isn't lit up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just turned the night vision back on. But yeah, I just started, and once you go in one direction, like I don't know. It does branch in some places. I kind of had the feeling that like the whole thing was linear for like the first two-thirds of going up. And then like I found a loop and saw a place when I was coming back where it branched and then realized it wasn't completely linear, but I don't think it was until I'd kind of thought I'd completed the whole thing that I realized that there was still a whole back portion that I hadn't reached.
I think the start is pretty linear. I kind of don't remember precisely the layout because this is one of those kind of more organic-y dungeons where I
Yeah,
just kind of go with the flow.
right. Yeah, I guess there's another loop, right? Because when you come into here, then you have mobs falling on your head, and so you have the possibility, even though it's not kind of like technically the path, that you could just like pillar up here in order to try to get up here. You keep entering this kind of middle cavern from a bunch of different layers.
I think. Oh yeah, it's right over here. I think.
I saw Preox and Travel Dog
Yeah,
found this little monster closet that you hit out
I
here.
think they're the only ones who actually found this
I
so
see. And
far.
this one didn't have any loot in it, right? It was just monsters. It's just extra
hmm
creepers.
It was just this ledge that I saw, and that's mostly how some of my design come through. Just like I see this ledge right over here,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ends off right here. So I'm like, what if the player is like, oh hey, this kind of looks like a path, and then he walks along it and then finds something. That's
Ah,
it's kind of you don't have to force everything. If you just see the train and think of it creatively,
right. Yeah, that's I guess
then
that's one of the things that appeals to me so much about this dungeon and in general, like in Minecraft, I like kind of natural looking terrain, organic kind of dungeony things to explore. And so this was like a cool natural canyon that had just been hollowed out. And so yeah, taking advantage of the environment to turn it into a dungeon was cool.
hmm oh, this is a dead end.
Right. That was resources that I did find. So yeah, I guess basically the main path had you go up here and then through and around on the inside. There was this ring, and then I think there ends up being another ladder up on the backside. Over here, as I recall, here were the spiders that were falling on the train. I think you may have lost me, but the spiders falling on the train was.
Wait, let me. I can easily get to you via this. Here we go.
And then here was the next ladder up. And then in this direction, I guess you could go back through the cave, or you could go through here, which also leads into that cave. And so this is one of the places where there's kind of like a short loop that made me realize that things were kind of looping around.
I think this is like a moon type DEO that is connected to the sun.
When you say moon, I don't know what you...
Like a crescent moon.
Okay, just the shape of it?
Like the outer... The platforms on the outside, like, kind of going...
Got it. And I don't think I can't remember if I ever came around the back over here and found this little coal and creeper spot that was around the back here. I don't remember if I went that way or not. I probably did. Although, without the night vision, I walked past... so I'm kind of in the middle portion over here. But I walked past this a couple of times without even realizing that there was this path over here. And I guess it was a skeleton spawner that had some loot underneath. What did it have? Yeah, just
yes. Some people said just because there were just some skeleton spawners here and there on like platforms or pillars, just to act as kind of turrety kind of things. And this one you don't activate from any distance.
Right.
So it's this one was kind of useless, so I added a chest.
I see, to make it feel like it had a purpose in life. Okay.
So if you're not really looking at it, you would only see the spawner.
Right. This next one around the corner, I guess, like there were some mobs down here that would already kind of slow you down, and then depending, I guess, upon exactly how you approached, maybe you'd already start spawning some mobs up here. But this skeleton spawner up here is one of the first ones that seemed to give everybody a bit of trouble.
Especially because it's secluded and higher up.
Right. You're in range to where you're shooting them here. You're just having come up a ladder and dealing with monsters from other directions. And yeah, the skeletons are kind of shooting down upon you, and you have to kind of build your own way up here. And you're also high enough at this point to where, yeah, the fall damage can really get you.
Another evil part about this design is if you go up this ladder, because ladders are annoying to go down. Like, it's like you're getting shot.
Yep.
There are mobs coming from right about here. They're kind of puffing around. And when you're trying to go down, it's like, oh, there I went. So that's kind of really fatal about this small part as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen people struggle in this area of the dungeon, but at this point you're pretty close to the top, as I recall. I guess over there goes toward the wool, but before you go over here, you're really good at this. Well, I guess maybe a number of other map makers are good at this as well. But basically, like, just hiding the spawner, like, right over the ledge, so as you're running this way, unless you look down, like, it'll be just, like, off your screen and you don't even see it kind of thing.
I was thinking of doing things like this. Here it is. Just doing things like this.
Yeah, it's kind of dodgy. I feel like possibly all the way through Dungeon 9, I think basically every spawner in the map that you had was exposed to air on at least one side.
Yeah, that's what I did for, I think... Oh yeah, only those zombie spawners, yeah, in that one dungeon.
Right. And yeah, that was also where you encase the multi-spawners and the netherwort blocks and different things. I like it when...
Those are like bigger spawners, was my idea.
I see.
Like the whole thing is one spawn, and it just takes more time to break it.
Yeah, when we get over there, I'll have other comments about that as well. But yeah, in general, I like it when mapmakers have a convention where either it's, you know, the spawners are going to be either visible or they're going to be, you know, under a different block or under a particular type of block or whatever. Like, I do like that convention, at least early on in the map. I don't mind it if people are meaner as you get kind of later on through the map. And I can't remember if there are any other spawners on top here. There's the chest over here, and there were spawners in this pillar. There's like a skeleton spawner, I think, and a creeper spawner over here. What was this chest? Yeah, just some books. Yeah.
I kind of went, I kind of toned down on the books, because originally these had like 5 books in them, and I toned them down to 3.
I see, yeah. I think 3 is appropriate and fine. I still ended up with a pile of books that I never used.
Basically means I can give out more chests, right?
Right, yes. Yeah, and admittedly, maybe I would have used them if I'd found more anvils early on, but we've been over that, so I won't harp on it anymore. Gotta get better at looking. Okay, so that was this portion, and then when you fly over to the other portion of the mountain, which is when I got over here and was going after the wool, I think when I realized that, like, oh, there's another mountain and there's other ledges down here that I still haven't lit up. Yeah, and this, I guess there's a skeleton spawner down here. There were, like, multiple creeper spawners up here. And the blaze spawner at the end. And I think I pillared up. I don't remember if I even noticed the stairway that went up originally. Or maybe I did and then decided, yeah, I'm not going up that stairway. I'm just going to pillar straight up.
Yeah, just the sheer amount of spawners here, or just the increase of amount of spawners. And mainly them being skeletons and creepers.
Yeah.
It's kind of the increase of difficulty that I like to have at the end of dungeons.
Yep. And you're still fighting uphill, basically. Kind of up to the last possible moment.
This blaze spawner used to be a guest one.
I think it might be more effective as blazes. I mean, I obviously haven't played it with ghasts, but...
The problem with ghasts is because they...
there's so much open space, they can just wander away.
Yeah, and because the ghasts... I think I complained about this in Corona Trials and Myriad as well. The ghasts only seeing you when they're around the same Y level as you.
Right, right. Yeah, so that's why I figured the blazes, they're better at targeting. Yeah, the ghast, it seems like they would just like fly up 10 blocks and then just start wandering around the whole map. And then that's the other thing, a ghast wandering around the whole map, like, if you got really unlucky, you could like deflect a ghast fireball and it could go hit the monument or something.
Yeah, that's a thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be unlikely, but still a risk.
Or like burn down a massive tree that's really close to this area or something.
Well, that happens everywhere in the map, so...
There was a poke at Final Fantasy? Yeah, Final Fantasy, with the big tree.
Oh, yeah. Right, and
this is
happy food.
This is another one of those things. It kind of looks like a parkour thing that was just randomly made. Like this, and then somewhere over here. So it's kind of logical to put something at the end. If it kind of looked like a half path.
I see. I didn't really read it that way when I was playing through it at all, but I'm glad there was a chest here. And yeah, more food is always welcome.
Just some small mapping things.
And yeah, I remember Preox and Travel Dog, like they came over to this platform to get rid of the skeletons, and then they knew they needed to go up here, and so they just started digging up and somehow dug right into the wool box.
Oh wow.
So that was good luck for them. So let's go back down to the lower portion of this landmass then and check out the kind of like harder to find unconnected points that were over here. Let's see. Up on the top level. Right. This was the gold cave that had a Fortune 2 pickaxe, I think.
Yes.
Which is very nice.
The gold digger.
Right, which is used for digging coal. And of course, yeah, I wish I had found that earlier in the map with easier coal. And there was something down here. Oh, the room with the anvil, right. And the only piece of gravel in the map, as far as I know.
It's the one holy piece of gravel. Oh! Hey, of course. Smart. Aren't you a smart man, Render? Oh,
yeah, he did set up a lot of observant blocks there, so that was good. And yeah, with the gravel, like, did you intentionally leave out gravel? I guess now that you have so many gravity blocks available to you, you don't need to use it nearly as often, but...
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, normally it's like, oh, I need to use a gravity block because it's a good dirt soil kind of block.
Right.
So it's most of the time it's gravel, sand, clay. Now it's all these colorful blocks, and then I just forgot about gravel in this map, I guess. At least it's not that big of a deal because spiders.
Yeah, the spiders drop plenty of flints for the most part.
Especially because they don't drop string anymore. The flint drops just go up. Like, hey, look at this, more flint.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Yeah, and then there were little bits of iron kind of like scattered throughout here. And so you could start accumulating iron as well. And I don't remember if last time did we talk about this portion of the rail. I don't think we did, because there's an emerald over here.
No, we didn't, actually.
Yeah, so there's an emerald over here, and I like this little area. You know, you just obviously follow the train tracks to the end, and there's a bunch of creepers, and then there's the emeralds. It's actually one of the most guarded emeralds, I suppose there is, maybe in the whole map.
Yes, probably.
And I thought somewhere over here was the treasure chest that had the treasure map, but I guess it's over in the next portion of the rail somewhere else. The
Yeah,
map
it's
that
on
led.
the it's on the other rail.
I see. Oh, the
Rail.
broken rail over by the train in the sky. That's on the other side of Dungeon 3.
Yes, it's like on the kind of the bowl with the Mirage Oasis.
Right. So I guess I'll fly over
Oasis.
there. So here was this train, and over here was
Try
the
to
treasure
walk.
map that leads to the emerald that we saw in the pink meteor that's over by the monument.
Hmm.
And yeah, also for whatever reason, just kind of like one of the last places I went. Like, I guess I got distracted by all the other things with the house over here and the train and Dungeon 3. And then when I came back over this way, I saw these arches for the first time and got sucked into Dungeon 4 and just never came
It
back
was
to this portion of the rail.
it was difficult to put these at a place where they were kind of. I kind of like to put important things like these at places where people will easily stumble upon them without feeling like I'm putting it in their face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Yeah.
design problem I sometimes have.
Yeah, this one really worked. I feel like the other one, because it was up in a chest that had like 4 redstone torches on it or something, and so it was like a big lighting cue saying, "Come get me, come get me."
Hmm.
So that one shouted a bit
Yeah.
more than this one did.
Hmm.
But that one was also in a more difficult area, and so you had to like, "Come earn me, come earn me." It's kind of a bit more of it.
Yeah.
And I
The
don't
redstone torch. One had like a shining beam of light upon it.
don't remember. I see. It was just another random loot chest that was over on this end. Yeah, one of the nice things with the just
Which was
different
nice.
train track set pieces is kind of like at one end and the other end, like you have 2 opportunities to just like put something.
Like just straight up ending it is kind of weird. And then if I put a small little caved in cave, I of course have to put something there because it's a cave.
Mm-hmm.
Of course there's something there. It's like when you have a waterfall, there's either something behind it or on top. That's like video game 101 on
Uh,
secrets and exploration.
Other than the fact that it's just kind of like a Western theme and I don't know, the trains kind of fit into it, and the tracks also end up being kind of useful uh, to direct people around. Like, is there anything else that goes into the design of the tracks, or is it just like some evening 2 years ago you were bored and you started building a train and you've had this model sitting around and eventually put it in a map? Or
I was kind of thinking of I think it was like a Lucky Luke cartoon. I think it is. It's one of
mm-hmm.
those old cartoons that was like Wild Western themed. And I just remember like the just this type of bridge with
Mm-hmm.
those like wooden structures underneath.
Right.
I find that's really interesting. Like just this pattern in general. So like I thought of incorporating it.
I see.
And it's good to put something different in the terrain as well. Because just having these canyons and
Yeah,
then putting it's like putting a second layer on top of it.
indeed. There's something blue over here. No leaf clover managed to see it from like far away, and I never found it in the map. And I guess it's just more iron up here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Just one of those stick out things,
yep,
stick out secrets.
yep, yeah. With night vision, I can see it well now. I'm curious if I go stand like over here and turn
There's a
off the night
lighting
vision if
bug
it's
on it, at least
okay.
for me.
Okay, let's see. Yeah. Is it just like a hole in the clouds, or it's definitely visible when I'm just looking from over here.
I don't know. Yeah, when you have all these colors around, it's like hard to notice as well, and especially with the how the fog. The
Right.
fog is kind of bluish, so it really, like especially from far away, the whole
Mm-hmm.
back wall is kind of blue as well, so it really blends in well.
I see.
I probably should have done a green color, I guess, if I wanted to make
Yeah,
it
if you
more
did green,
obvious.
I'd expect an emerald up here probably or something like that. So it's a trade-off.
I mean, if you find iron and you're like, oh, okay, it's iron, and you're not going to search for more. At least that's what I would do.
I see. I mean, I guess.
But
And
I'm
actually,
not
wow,
really
from
sure.
up here you can. Well, possibly we opened it up because I see a fire over there, but I was gonna say you can see the emerald.
You
But
would
it,
have seen the corner, yeah.
yeah. Um, let's see. This house, I don't think we really kind of talked about, but it was just another one of these standard. It's kind of like a little set piece that has monster spawners and some loot, and it was a
One of
chance to get
one of
resources
those.
and note blocks and bookshelves.
One of those when you're in the bowl down here with the mirage. You could see the house on your left, and it's like, oh,
Right,
hey, that's the place where I could go next. The
right.
same goes for those arches on the right. They're basically just to draw your attention.
Yep. And yeah, the arches, yeah, it took me a while to see. I'm curious if I'm down here and turn off the night vision again. Yeah, they blend in pretty well. And the house and the train stands out a little bit more, I think. So I guess that's why I never went up there. I think also because just the location of where the blaze spawner was. Like when you walk in from over here, you're kind of coming from this area, and the blaze spawner was on the right. And so I took out the blaze spawner on the right, but then I was kind of like scared of going to the right, and so I think I ended up like pillaring up here and going left instead.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everyone else that I've seen has been kind of following the path and going up to the right, so
Mm-hmm.
other people are
Also,
playing the way you're supposed to.
you have your special way of playing.
My way of avoiding all the good loot.
Oh,
I guess should we move on to Dungeon 4 over here?
sure. For a
All
bit,
right.
I was like, "Where is Dungeon 4?" But
Black Mesa Ruins, as I recall.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the name of Dungeon 3 is actually a reference to a sandbox game called Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Okay,
There
I'm
was
aware
this
of the
map.
game.
There was this map name called Arid Heights.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where that one came from. Most of the names actually are references to other games, other thingamajiggers.
I
Just
see.
like Black Mesa, of course.
For
It's like a
Portal.
reference to Half-Life.
Half-Life, okay.